Good morning. I'm coming to you this morning from my back porch. I've got a little bitty drizzle of rain, which I love, and I don't know if you can hear it in the background or not. Maybe you can. It's such a beautiful, relaxing sound to me, especially when we've been needing rain for so long. But anyway, this morning my devotion is coming from 1 Corinthians chapter 5. I'm going to talk about Paul's trip to heaven. The passage I'm going to read you deals with our earthly body. Here the Apostle Paul calls it our tabernacle. Tabernacle is defined as a dwelling place, residence, habitation. It's a house for our soul while we're here on this earth. It's where the real us lives. I worked in a facility for the mentally handicapped for 23 years, retired from there. Many of the residents in one of the buildings in which I work were bedridden. You would have thought their body was there, but they weren't. But they were. Some lay in a bed all day long, unable to speak or move, unless someone moved them and turned them. They just lay there all day long, and you would have thought they didn't know anything. Some had been that way since birth, but they were stuck in that body. But I noticed that when I would walk up to their bed and talk to them, they always looked into my eyes. My mouth was moving. You'd think they would look at the mouth, but no. They looked into my eyes. It seems as if they were looking into my soul, and I guess they kind of were. They were looking at the real me, where the real me was and still is. And that's where they were too, stuck in that body. 2 Corinthians 5:1-4 says, "For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this we groan, earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house, which is from heaven. If so be that being clothed we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life." That mortality might be swallowed up of life. Now he that hath wrought us for the selfsame thing is God, who also hath given us the earnest of the Spirit. Therefore, we are always confident, knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. For we walk by faith, not by sight. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. The tabernacle that our body lives in Let me start that again. The tabernacle that our soul lives in for the time being is our body. One day we'll step out of this body, and when we do, we're going to really start living. I mean, we're going to be living it up as God intended for us all along to be doing before sin entered the picture. Mortality will be swallowed up of life. Wonderful, vibrant, footloose, and fancy-free life. I think of William Wallace. I think that's who it was when he cried loudly at the end of Braveheart, "Freedom, freedom, freedom." I got a feeling as Charlie Kirk and a lot of other Christians were stepping out of their body, that's what they cried to. Freedom. When we step out, we will know what it means to live an abundant, happy, carefree life. When we step out of this body, we'll be clothed with temporary body until the rapture. Then we'll be clothed with our new home, our brand new house from heaven. The new eternal body will never be burdened with sin, pain, death, or sorrow. No more guilt or shame or weakness. All of the limitations of this mortal body will be gone, 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 and replaced with life. Mortality will be swallowed up by life. All the troubles, all the shackles that weigh us down and press down upon us will be gone. Did you ever watch those Twilight movies? I watched them with my daughter when she was a teenager. That part where the vampires were playing baseball in their fabulous immortal bodies kind of pictures the energy we'll have and the places it will allow us to go. But that's only a vague picture. It's going to be so much more. The older we get, the more we groan, literally. Paul said we groan, desiring to be clothed upon with our house from heaven. So yeah, the older we get, the more we groan. Every time we get out of bed, we groan. Every time we get up out of a chair, we groan, groan, groan. We who are Bible believers begin to yearn more and more for that new home for our soul. Not that we want to hurry death up, but it's the desire that Jesus might come soon, even today, that mortality might be swallowed up of life, real life, abundant life. When we read the Bible and have a proper understanding of what's up ahead for us, we can live confidently with full courage and an expectant hope, knowing that while we are at home in this body, we're absent physically from the Lord, but that one day when we step out of this body, we will be present with the Lord. That means knowing that for us, things are going to be all right. Things are going to just get better and better. The Christian cannot lose for winning. Knowing that, Paul could say in 2 Corinthians 5:8, "For we are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord." I looked up some synonyms for confident. That means we can live cool, calm, and collected. Confident. We can live nonchalantly, unruffled, serene, tranquil, relaxed, at ease, unfazed, laid back in this world, knowing that we have nothing to fear. Death is the ultimate dread for most people, and for most people it's pushed way back to the back of the mind so as to not think about it. Well, Paul lived with a confident whatever attitude, like, what if I die? I'm going to be present with the Lord. I read about a man, an old preacher, evangelist, soul-winning evangelist, John R. Rice. I read about a man holding a gun to his head, and old Dr. John looked down over the rim of his glasses and said, "Buddy, you can't scare me with heaven." You can't scare me with heaven. That was Paul's attitude. That is what Paul tells us. We can live confidently. It's a win-win situation for the Christian. He tells us in Colossians 3, verse 2, to set our affection on things above, not on the things on this earth. In 1 Corinthians 15:19, he said, "If in this life only we have hope in Christ, we are of all men most miserable." And that is so true. To set our affection on things above and to live confidently God left us a book full of instructions and examples for living your best life now and later. You have to read it, though. You have to read your instruction book, the Bible. In it we see that Paul once made a quick trip to heaven and back again, and that is so comforting to me to know he liked it. God wasn't ready for him then. He had a lot of work for Paul to do on this earth, but he had some things he wanted Paul to see. He wanted Paul to have just a glimpse of the splendor that'll be there waiting for him and for us. And Paul meant for him to let us know about it, and he did. What part he could let us know about it, he did. Back in the book of Acts, we're told about Paul being stoned to death and left for dead outside the city of Lystra. We believe it's during that time that Paul did die and that God gave him a glimpse of heaven. I believe it's 2 Corinthians there, 12, verses 1 through 10. Paul was caught up into paradise in the third heaven. Verse 7 tells us he was given an abundance of revelations. An abundance of revelations. So God must have showed him and told him about so many wonderful things, because Paul was never again content on this earth. From then on, if you read the book of Acts and the letters he wrote, he lived like a suicidal maniac. When he was sent back to earth, he got up from there after being stoned and went right back into the city that had stoned him. I can only imagine the fright on the faces of the ones who had killed him when they saw him walking back into town. Many times we see that Paul prayed for boldness, and boy, was he ever bold. From then on, Paul would say things like in Philippians 1, verse 21, "For me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Verse 23 there, he said, "For I am in a strait betwixt two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better." He was saying, I'm torn between these two worlds. I'm pulled in two different directions. I'd sure love to depart and be with Jesus, which is far better, but to stay here is more needful for you to help you grow in your faith and in your joy. Death is gain for the Christian, and Paul knew it. He had experienced it. Paul knew if he died, he would go immediately to be with Jesus. He was confident that to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing to know. 2 Corinthians 5:8, we are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Lord. He knew that. He knew if he left the body where he'd be in the very next moment. When we take our last breath here, our next breath will be celestial. It will be breathed in heaven. And Paul knew he could rest on that fact. He knew to die is gain for a Christian. He knew there is no waiting period. There is no soul sleep. There is no purgatory. What gain would there be for Paul's soul to have slept in the ground for hundreds of years? No, no, no. It would have been far better for him to keep on living a while longer. But he said, for me to die is gain. What Paul is saying in his letters to me, the way I see it is this. He is saying that Jesus is the sole meaning of my life on this earth. He is everything to me. And for me to live and tell you about him is what I live for. But to die would be gain. I would be with him physically. It would be gain. It would be far, far better for me if that happened, but not for you. So I guess I'll just stay here a while longer with you till God gets ready for you. I'll stay here for the furtherance of your faith and your joy. I'll teach you more about him. Now, when Paul made that trip to heaven, like I said, he was given an abundance of revelations, meaning a great plenty, an overflowing quantity, ample sufficiency. That's what that word, an abundance, means there. He came back with a lot of information, a lot of knowledge as to what heaven looked like, who would be there, what it would be like for us, and he was always longing for and impatient to go back there. So what does that say to us about heaven? It tells us we're going to love it too. He was given abundant revelations, but the things he saw and the words he heard were unspeakable words which were not lawful for a man to utter. How hard that must have been for him to keep it all to himself. But God told him to, so he did. He kept it to himself. But he gave us enough hints to know it's going to be so awesomely wonderful that we cannot even begin to imagine what it's like, because we have nothing so grand as to compare it to. We are left with a great deal of mystery concerning our home in heaven, and I think I know why, or part of the reason why. For a lot of people, including myself, I just don't know how strong I would be if severe trouble came my way. Now, we have troubles every day, but some people have severe troubles. I know some going through them now. It would be so easy just to check out when things are going hard for us down here. Just say, adios, I am out of here. A lot of people have. They just commit suicide, get it over with. They don't think about others. And they refuse to stay and complete the purpose God has for them here. Now, I'm not talking about those who have been mentally sick and take their own lives. I'm talking about the ones who know full well what they're doing, and they chose to leave early. Just think about it. If there was no mystery, if we were sure of what heaven is like, if we had the veil lifted from our eyes and we're able to see all that God has for us there, if we could see our loved ones there, how many of us would just go ahead and check out of here? People are selfish. I'm selfish. We would not be willing to stay and go through some of the things that Paul had to go through. Oh, no. Just so we could help others. Well, no, we'd want to be out of here. Hey, I see my daddy up there. I'm ready to go. You know, we're not that strong. We can't know it all. It's not for us to know right now. We would not finish the work God has for us to do, and we all have something very, very special and important. We all have a purpose that God made us, the unique person we are, to complete for Him. It may be to point one person to Jesus. That one person would be worth it. God knew who He could trust with the information about heaven. Paul knew, John knew, a few others saw it and knew. So to me it's wonderful to know all that God does tell us, and He tells us enough about it that we know we want to go there one day. And He lets us know that Paul always wanted to return, so that tells us nothing on earth can compare to it, and that to Paul it was, he wasn't content anymore. He had a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which he said is far better. We're told in Psalms 116, verse 15, precious in the sight of the Lord are the death of his saints. I imagine God to be like a normal, loving, earthly parent at Christmas time is. They can hardly wait to see the look on the face of their children when those children open their presents. So God says, precious in the sight of the Lord are the death of his saints. I believe he can hardly wait for us to be with him and see all that he has waiting for us there. One day we will depart this body to be with Jesus, either by death or by the rapture. Our soul is going to step out. Are you ready to go? Are you ready to meet him today if he were to come or if death were to call? We can be confident by turning to Jesus in belief to be the one who lived and died and arose again, paying your sin debt for you. We can turn to him in belief today and be saved. It's that simple. A short prayer is long enough. Lord, I believe, or Lord, save me. The thief on the cross didn't even have to say it. God saw the belief in his heart that day and he was saved. Won't you believe? Won't you believe and receive Jesus Christ into your heart right now? Oh, I hope you do. God bless you.